Alright, welcome to Ring Toward Boxing. So Joyce knocks out Joseph Porter in the 11th round. Now, I thought this was an absolutely brilliant performance from Joyce. It absolutely defined everything that we've come to know him for. Now, in a prediction I wasn't sure about whether it would be an entertaining fight or a bit of a bore. But I found this fight really good to watch. From the first minute in, you just got a sense it was going to be a really good fight. And in that first round, I felt Joseph Porter had a bit more of the better work. I mean, I was a bit cautious about him, with him coming in heavier, since I think the best thing he had was to try and be a bit faster than Joyce and get in and out. Do his work on the inside and then get out. Which I think he did okay in the first round. And even when Joyce, which he did do the whole fight, just kept plodding towards Porter, he was also getting some big overhand rights in as Joyce was coming in. But it was definitely from the second round, I would say, where Joyce started landing a bit more. And as we've known with Joyce, his punches, they don't look like much. But fucking hell, when they land, you can tell they have impact. So he started landing a bit more, and Porter was trying to move out of the way, but Joyce was being very clever with his footwork, and seemingly always batting Porter into the corner, into the ropes, and then getting some big shots in. Now, and we did see Porter get some good overhand rights in when Joyce was coming in, but not one of them even made Joyce flinch. Sometimes I would even wonder if he was blinking when he was getting hit. So I think especially into the 6th and 7th round, you'd see Porter was getting a bit more demoralised with how his punches were having zero effect, and he obviously started to tire. And I mean, I give credit to Porter. Like, he's getting hit with these massive shots. You're trying to hit this, what he is, a juggernaut coming towards you. And he's landing on you generally quite a lot. But he kept coming. There was a time, I think it was the 7th or 8th round, where Joyce landed on Porter, and Porter had a little look either towards his corner or the ref. I don't know which one. I was like, does Porter want out of this? But he didn't. He kept going. He really did. Even in times when Joyce was hitting him. I mean, we know Porter's got a brilliant chin, as does Joyce. But when Joyce was landing those big shots, you can tell they were hurting Porter, but he had great tenacity to keep coming and keep trying. Ultimately, until, I mean, he did get really hurt in the 11th round before the knockdown. And it was after getting hurt, he ultimately was just on the retreat, which he had been a little bit all night. But yeah, Joyce just came in and landed that lovely left onto Porter, and as soon as Porter went down, I thought, nah, this is it, he's done, he's out. And even when he tried to get up, the ref waved it off rightly. And you're seeing Porter take a little step to the right off balance, so he just wasn't with it. But, I mean, before that, I think in the 9th and 10th round, Porter was actually coming back a bit. But I think that was more to do because Joyce, he's very experienced, and he knows what he's doing. And then when he was having success with Porter, and even when the first time he hurt him, I think it was in the 4th round, even when he hurt him, he's not like a Wilder type who's just going rushing in there to try and get him out. He's like, well, I know I've hurt him, I'm just going to keep to this game plan, I know I'll get to him again. So there was no rush from Joyce. He was happy to keep plodding forward, putting Porter into them traps, taking a shot here and there, which we have seen with him throughout Joyce's career, because he knows he can take it, or at least so far he can take it. And obviously Porter's left eye got damaged, and then later on in the fight he got that bad cut to the right eye. It didn't seem to be affecting him that much, but he might say differently. But yeah, Joyce was brilliant. I was very impressed with Joyce. I thought it would be a much closer fight in terms of, at least before Porter weighed in, but in terms of Porter trying to get inside, using his faster hands and then getting out. Where I just don't. With Joyce never give him a chance. Porter would get a good shot in or two, look to retreat, and Joyce would just stalk him down all the way around the ring. He done that from rounds 1 to 11. And he made sure when he hit that them shots really did hurt. But it was a really entertaining fight. Really, really entertaining. I know that there was a rematch clause. I don't think there'll be a rematch, but it's not one I would complain at. But either way, I think Joyce would win in exactly the same fashion. Unless Porter could get a bit lighter. I think he could have been 15 pounds over what he should have been. Because I thought the one thing he had over Joyce was speed. Even if his stamina has come into question in the last few fights when we know Joyce can just go for days. But yeah, ultimately, absolutely brilliant performance by Joyce. He's shown everything that we want to see from him. Big shots, he can keep to a game plan, great chin. And plus, he's sits and he's 19 stone. And he looks solid as out. Even if he didn't do any boxing training, I don't know if he does weight training, but if he didn't do that any either, I don't think he does much. You can just imagine he still would be just 19 stone of pure solid. I think he's a very daunting task for any boxer. Obviously, he called out Usyk. And obviously, we've seen in the amateurs that Usyk dealt with Joyce quite easily. And I do think the same would happen again. I think Usyk would be too clever for him, too fast for him. Having Porter try to utilise a game plan on you and then having Usyk trying to do is totally different. And we've seen that Usyk has a great chin too. So I think Joyce fighting Usyk, I just still think Usyk would win quite easily at the moment, I would say. But if he is looking to go down that route, I think someone like Otto Wallin, however you say it, would be a good shout for him. He's a southpaw, but he's a very tall southpaw, and he did give Tyson Fury problems. And Joyce hasn't fought anyone that size who can box like that. So I think that would be a very good fight for Joyce next. And as much as it won't happen, I would like to see Joyce and what Andy Ruiz, because when you Porter had fast hands, but I think he just come in too heavy. I think Andy Ruiz, for Joyce, he's got slow hands, decent footwork and decent foot speed though, who carries loads of power against someone who's short with really fast hands. I think it would be a really interesting fight to see those clash of styles and clash of dimensions happen. But I think he's going to fight Wilder. But again, Joyce against Wilder, I think will be really interesting. Both really good punchers. Both got really good chins, because Wilder showed a great chin in the third Fury fight. How damaged he is after that, we'll see against Hellenius. But I think the best option for Joyce is probably Otto Wallin, yes, unless he can get the Usyk fight, obviously, take the unified title shot. But yeah, Otto Wallin I think will be really good if he is available. We don't know, is Joshua going to fight Fury, but Wallin might be someone he might fight. Porter, he's just signed that deal with Sky Sports. I doubt this fight was in the initial plan of Sky Sports, because they knew how dangerous it was. I don't think Porter's stock would have taken much of a hitting after this, because he showed heart, determination, and landed some good blows. His overhand right would have hurt a lot of heavyweights. But if you're looking at the people who are on Sky, obviously, Hughie Fury and Michael Hunter. As much as the first Hughie Fury and Joseph Porter fight wasn't entertaining, they probably would just have that fight again if Fury wins. But if Hunter, if he beats Fury, Hunter and Joseph Porter could be a good fight, I suppose. But they might look at it and see, is the Joyce Porter rematch the best thing for both of them? I don't know how much Joyce will want it, but if he's there's no one better available, just I don't think there was anyone better available this time, take an easy victory, get a good payday, and it's still going to be, a hard scrap. to set you up for a bigger fight later. So it might be the best thing for him to run it back, even though if it's not the most entertaining. But from what I've seen and heard yesterday, I don't think they will run it back. But obviously Joyce needs to get heavy on. He's getting into his later 30s now, and as much as he looks in great shape, he hasn't took too many beatings. As much as he takes big shots, he hasn't took any beatings. He hasn't had really hard fought fights, but age does catch up with all of us eventually, especially those in sport and boxing. I know, like, obviously it was talked about before, Joyce and Fury. I mean, it really does sound like Fury is going to be fighting Manuel Cho, unfortunately, in December, but Fury against Joyce would be good, as much as you do expect Fury to be too fast and too nimble and too clever for Joyce. You just never know. The stories of Fury sparring Joyce before the first Wilder fight it was, supposedly them were brilliant spars, brilliant wars for both. And it's a good, solid, tall heavyweight for Fury to be taken on. But yeah, it does seem like Fury wants to be taking on Shaw. Some will say Dillian White, but I mean, obviously with a grapevine, he could be fighting Daniel Dubois. But I think Joyce would get rid of Dillian White easily now, and I don't think he would get much out of that fight. I think he would get rid of Dillian White within the first 4 rounds. For me, honest now, I think White's chin's too done for that. So yeah, off the top of my head, I would say Otto Wallin might be the best fight for Joyce next. Obviously there's a Fran Sanchez out there, but I don't think it would be an entertaining fight, and I think they're both in the same category of, I mean, yeah, Joyce is mandatory for the WBO, but he doesn't have that much kind of commercial size to him. Same with Fran Sanchez. It's like, well, what other fighters going to gain from either fight? You know what I mean? I don't think that much. So yeah, I think Joyce against Wallin will be quite good. But it'll be interesting to see who Queensby get. On the note of Queensby though, I think the way the fight went last night, I actually think that looked very good for Daniel Dubois. Because, I mean, it was a totally different way of fighting for Joyce. Like, Joyce just kept Dubois on that jab. But he never got hurt. As much as his eye got bashed up by Joyce, he never got hurt. And I don't think, even if he continued on, I really don't think he would have got knocked out by Joyce. Possibly the way Joyce was fighting. But I think it looks quite good for Daniel Dubois. So hey, maybe after that, Queensby might just be like, you know what, we'll not fight Dillian White. Why don't we get Daniel Dubois against Joseph Porter? And I think that would be a really good fight for Dubois to take. But yeah, I think there's some really interesting fights down the pipeline now. Really are just waiting to see what Fury and Joshua do. But yeah, really good, entertaining fight. Really impressive performance by Joe Joyce. Showed all the qualities that he's had. He's big, he's strong, he's got a great chin. He sticks to a game plan. He doesn't get he doesn't overthink the situation. He doesn't get too excited by the situation. He just keeps moving forward. Nothing stops him. Just keeps moving forward, leading him with that jab, getting some big hooks in, and he's just relentless. And I think that's how a lot of his fights could go. He'll just keep hitting you, keep bashing you, keep chasing you down. The opponent will get tired or hurt, and he'll knock him out later on the round. But then for Porter though, yeah, he had a game plan. I don't think they would adopt the same plan next time, but that's hindsight for you. But he showed that he still has got heart. And you hope he can take it on to his next fight. But yeah, hopefully more fights like this in the future. Let me know what you thought of the fight. Cheers for checking out Ring Talk Boxing.